friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alyssa. Today we are recapping my first and second trimester. I decided to kind of put these together in one video because I ended up announcing my pregnancy around 20 weeks, and at that point it was just like too much to do a first trimester video, and then I was well into my second trimester already. So we're just gonna put them all together, and I'll talk through some of my symptoms that I experienced, how I've been feeling, and that will be today's video. I do just want to preface talking about my first trimester and say that I really did not document anything in my first trimester because I had so much anxiety around losing this pregnancy. I didn't take photos, I didn't take videos, I didn't document my symptoms. I really wasn't even checking my app on a weekly basis because I just mentally couldn't get my hopes up in case something didn't work out. I've documented much better in my second trimester, especially my bump, but my first trimester, I really did not really document anything at all. So this is all based off memory. So I'm gonna be sipping my tea while we're talking, but my first trimester was actually surprisingly easy. I've talked a little bit about this in my announcement video, which I will link here, but my first trimester was really, in the grand scheme of things, not as challenging as it was for a lot of other people, or as it is for a lot of other people. I started feeling symptoms around week 6. I got a little bit nauseous, and I was just basically, it felt like I was car sick all the time. I was especially nauseous around food, and when I was like about to eat, I would just feel like I just couldn't deal with it. But that really only lasted for about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And then after 8 weeks, the nausea pretty much went away. I had it sporadically, like if I was on a long car ride, which we had a few long car rides in that span. So I did feel a little bit nauseous in cars, but for the most part, I did not experience morning sickness. I never threw up. I never had that even urge to throw up, thankfully. The thing that did stick with me through the full first trimester was food aversions. For me, like when I would think about a certain food, it would be like, no way, that sounds so gross. And it would be like a little bit of form of nausea almost, but it was really around meat and seafood, which I found so interesting because I had started to kind of incorporate more of those into my diet before I got pregnant. And the first trimester, my body was like, no, I want vegetables, not raw vegetables, like cooked vegetables, soups, just like kind of cozy pasta food, sandwiches, hummus, veggies, eggs, things like that. But I was craving carbohydrates. I think that's just very common for a lot of people in their first trimester, especially if you're dealing with morning sickness, because carbs are just plain Jane, easy to digest, and tend to be simple on the system. So that was definitely a thing. So some of the weirder symptoms that I experienced in my first trimester were, the first one that always tips me off, or at least has the last 2 times for pregnancy, tipped me off that I'm pregnant, is that I start waking up in the middle of the night. And that is not a normal thing for me. I usually sleep like a rock. I don't have any type of insomnia. And I knew almost immediately with this pregnancy that I was pregnant because I had a little bit of insomnia, like 7-8 days post-ovulation. And that happened with my first pregnancy too. That has continued throughout my pregnancy. So I don't sleep as well as I used to, which, like some people say, is your body getting you ready and getting you prepared for life with a baby and a child. But for me, that was a big change because I am such a deep sleeper. And this sleep conversation ties perfectly into today's sponsor, which is Oura Ring. I have an Oura Ring. I wear it every single day, and I have loved the data around it. I used to have an Apple Watch, which I used to track workouts and track my activity, but I wouldn't wear it at night because it needed to be charged every night, and that is where this fits in perfectly. I get sleep data every single day when I wake up, and it tells me how I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. I can see what needs to be improved upon. So for me, during pregnancy, it has been the restlessness metric, which is basically like how restless and how much you wake up during the night. That is pretty much read every single day. But I have still continued to score pretty well in the like mid to high 80s most nights, sometimes into the 90s if I go to bed early. So my sleep on average is still quite good, but I do notice when I wake up most days, my restlessness score is in the red. The other thing that I love about the Oura Ring is that it tracks your activity without like putting set goals around it. I feel like when I used to wear an Apple Watch, I was much more focused on like my calories I was burning, and mentally it just like wasn't necessarily the healthiest thing for me. So my Oura Ring is really helping me track steps. It's helping me just like make sure that I'm moving on a daily basis, which is really important. The other thing I really like about the Oura Ring and the scores that it gives you is your readiness score. So if you are someone that is super active, the Oura Ring would be a great addition to your routine because it really helps you understand from a heart rate perspective, so from like an actual data perspective, how well your body is recovering. I think so many of us, especially women, push really hard in exercise and workouts, and we end up either plateauing or potentially causing our body some harm in the long run because we aren't properly resting. So the Oura Ring is a great tool to use if you are someone that's really active, because it will help you understand when your system needs a little bit of a break. And that doesn't mean that you don't move at all that day, but maybe it just means you go for a walk instead of like doing a HIIT class or a spin class. So that's something that I'm really excited to also continue to pay attention to postpartum as I get back into like my fitness and everything like that. I'm gonna really rely on this to make sure that I am not burning myself out, because I wanna make sure that I am still sleeping well, I'm keeping up milk supply, and I'm not burning my body out. So thank you to Oura for sponsoring today's video. I absolutely love my Oura Ring. Gold, I wear it on my middle finger. Make sure to order the sizing kit, and you can find all of their information in the description box below. Aside from sleep, a few of the other strange symptoms that I noticed in my first trimester was my gag reflex. My gag reflex was so sensitive, so I think that also could be a little bit tied to nausea, but I tongue scrape every single morning, and I like literally could not tongue scrape because it would make me gag so bad. Vitamins were the other thing that was really challenging. I gagged every single time I took my vitamins, and that was, it made like, it was the worst part of my day, taking my vitamins. Now, in the second trimester, that has gone away. I can tongue scrape normally. I can pop 2 vitamins at once, probably even could do 3 and don't gag. So that was a first trimester symptom for sure. And it was just not, I wouldn't expect it. I didn't expect it. I've never had a gag reflex issue at all. I rarely gag, and that was just really bizarre. So as we kind of progressed through the first trimester, the bump was not really there at all. I would say that I had a teeny tiny one, maybe around like 14 weeks. I just basically felt bloated. I didn't notice a bump until like 20-ish weeks, right around 19, 20 weeks. My second trimester has been, like they say, for most people, the easiest trimester so far. I definitely feel just like my regular self, aside from the fact that I have a big stomach and I am not fitting in my clothes anymore. I'm 20, as you're watching this, 28.5 weeks, so in my third trimester, but just barely. And my biggest symptom in my second trimester has been some rib pain. It sounds like it's just baby position, and he's just been pushing on my upper ribs. But what's interesting about it is that it really has not gone away. I thought that it would be something that would kind of like, I'd get over. I thought maybe I pulled a muscle or something in the beginning, and it's just continued. So I think I've just gotten used to it at this point. And I try to like stretch out as much as I can on the couch, or whenever we're laying down, I'm like trying to be elongated so that I can keep some space there to ease the tension. But if I sit all day or I'm kind of like hunched over on my computer, then I notice more and more that my ribs get sore. So that is a symptom that I was not really anticipating. The other thing that I noticed that was not the same as the first trimester was an increase in discharge. So right around 25 weeks, there was just like a change there. And there was a big increase in the amount, and I think it just is what it is. So that I'm expecting to continue throughout my third trimester and post-birth, but we'll see what happens. I'll update you once I do a third trimester recap. The only other thing that really comes to mind, which I think is actually amazing about this pregnancy for me so far, has been my hair. A lot of people say that like your hair is strong and healthy and shiny, and I feel that for sure. But what I notice the most is how different my hair fall is. So like the amount of hair that comes out in the shower, it is like very, very, very minimal. As I'm doing this on camera, I'm not pulling a single hair out. So that has been a big change. My hairdresser who cut my hair a couple weeks ago said it's holding on to all of that hair and then you're just gonna lose it postpartum. So I'm ready for that, but for now I'll enjoy the thick, shiny, pretty hair. So the last thing that I want to talk about, and this isn't necessarily a second trimester issue, I think it's just a pregnancy thing in general, but I want to be real and transparent and authentic and share one of the things that has been really challenging for me. And it has been the changes in my body. And I think for me, what has been the most challenging about the body changes is the weight gain. I just don't feel like myself anymore. I, have gained like more than I've ever gained in my whole life. And obviously I knew that this was going to happen, but it doesn't necessarily make it easy. It's just a hard thing to watch your body change and really have zero control over it. And I know that this is like a blip in time and it's going to be so worth it. And I, love just being able to grow him and love what my body is able to do. But the mental side of gaining a significant amount of weight in like a relatively short amount of time, it's mentally challenging, at least it is for me. So I just wanted to share that because if you are someone that also struggles with the body changing aspect of it, I see you and you're not alone. It's really the hardest thing I think for me has been like the clothing. I haven't necessarily invested in a lot of maternity specific clothes, which maybe is part of it, but just not fitting in things and not really recognizing my shape when I look in the mirror. And it just is kind of a strange feeling. And it's one that I've never really dealt with before. So that has been something that I've been really trying to focus on as I'm going into the third trimester, is like really just embracing all of these changes and not beating myself up because like there's no point. I mean, I know that like I'm completely not in control of this process and I just need to like give in to like my body's gonna gain whatever weight it needs to gain to sustain this life, and that is what it is. All that I can do is just try my best to eat healthy and support him through nutrients and things like that. So trying to kind of like think of it in as positive a light as possible. I also, this morning, as I'm filming this, did make a purchase for some maternity clothes. So that I think will also help, just like making sure that I have clothes that are comfortable, that make me feel good, that aren't like super tight or just like short and aren't growing with me. That will be, I hope, really helpful. I am planning to do like a little video about different like 5 outfits that I wear this week. Obviously I'm not like a fashion blogger by any means, but I have found dressing a bump really challenging. So I'm gonna just share like some really basic pieces, really basic outfits that I wear like basically all the time, and share some of my favorite brands. But hopefully for any of my pregnant mamas out there, that will be really helpful. So that is basically a quick, I don't even know how long I've been talking. I feel like I've been talking for 25 minutes, but that is a simple synopsis of my first and second trimester. I would say that for me, overall, I have been really lucky with this pregnancy. It's been very easy in the grand scheme of things, especially compared to some of my friends who have just been like debilitated by morning sickness or had tons of aches and pains throughout their pregnancy. I really feel lucky that it overall has been fairly easy. So thank you so much for watching. Any other pregnancy related videos or anything like that, if you have questions, anything, drop those down below. I didn't really mention any products today aside from my fabulous Aura ring, which I will link below. But otherwise, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you tuning in, and thanks for paying attention and following along to this pregnancy. It's been really fun. I can't believe he's gonna be here in like 10 weeks. No, 11 weeks. Crazy. Are we ready? Are we ready? I don't know if we're ready. Kind of feels like we're not ready, but we'll get ready. We don't have another option. So yes, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And don't forget to subscribe before you go. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.